It's the Ikko Abridged campaign part 11, where last time we pretty much finished off the Ryozoji, but then by vassalizing them, I caused a realm divide, so now we're at war with pretty much everyone, or we soon will be. All I could do was carry on with what I was doing before, trying to take the island of Kyushu. We had a couple of very successful battles, advancing down the west side of the island and holding our ground in the east. It's all well and good, but things could get dangerous when stuff like this starts to happen. There's like 20 factions out there, and while most of them don't border us, they can just send troops on ships and we can't stop them. Meaning they can land troops anywhere, and there appear to be some troops from the Kono clan coming in right now, near Kyushu handily enough, so near to where our armies are. Not the worst place, but we'll see what they end up doing. In the meantime, our plan with the Shimazu continues. I blocked off one of the routes to the south here using a vassal I created, and I'm going to push east to get this little middle part of the island squared away, while hopefully the Shimazu in the west will be distracted. Had a mission to sabotage an army. Normally I don't do the missions just because the rewards aren't really worth it, but here I can get +2 melee defense for sabotaging someone, so I did it. It's kind of not that likely to work because I only have level 1 ninjas available, but we did get it, so that's a nice buff. In this case I could actually use the sabotage to kill that Shimazu general, but I didn't want to move out with the nearby units just in case that Kono fleet landed right next to that castle. It actually just sat there for its turn, so no landing yet. And I've also now prepared stuff at the east end of our territory. We've got 2 castles near the capital that both have like half an army inside and another half army of garrison available. So both of those places should be difficult for the enemy to take. They've also got high level castles to use for the map. And we do have another defensive position next to the Hatakeyama set up here. We are still allied to them, but I'm just not trusting them at all. I'm setting up as if they're going to attack me. Now back to the Shimazu. We move on eastwards. There's a small group in the way. They move back, and they move back to be in range of the next castle, which has a full stack inside. So if I attack again, this is potential for a siege draw-out. The enemy stack inside is a mix of good and bad units, so certainly a doable thing to go and take them out. But it would be better, of course, to besiege the castle first, and then kill the units outside first. For that, I could bring down my army coming down the east coast. It's almost arrived, and I was going to see how far I could get it basically, but the answer is not very far. First I pushed away that Shimazu officer with the castle garrison. That was done primarily to get the garrison out of the castle so I can move into it freely and then move out the other side to maximise my movement, but that's about the end of the movement for that turn. So we end up left with a defensive situation that's quite strong. I could wait until next turn and strike the castle from the east with that army, but instead I thought I'll just get my 2 armies together here and do a siege draw-out instead, because this isn't exactly a difficult situation. It's a case where auto-resolve might be the best way to minimise losses actually, but because I don't want to auto-resolve absolutely everything, I am going to do the siege draw-out in this case. I've got a few units of mangonels to play with in this battle, and handily, the enemy decided to attack me, which is perfect since I wouldn't have been able to use them if they just stayed in their deployment zone on their nice territory. So, the enemy come over and get hit by the mangonels, but does that make an enormous difference? Well, I'm not sure. The mangonels are extremely inaccurate, so while we do get the odd kill with them, broadly speaking we're just shooting stuff. It looks nice to start fires all over the place. The enemy line isn't parallel to ours, meaning that the first troops to arrive are these on their right, and they're attacking without archers in this area, whereas I do have archers since I have 2 stacks here together. So we can wipe out a few units on the enemy's right as they walk towards us. It's just some militia, so don't need to kill too many to get them out of there. Now with the enemy's good units, like their Onobushi, I thought the mangonels might be able to take them out, but you can see the sheer spread of where the shots are landing. All of my mangonels are targeted onto the Onobushi at the very front of their army, but yeah, sometimes they get very far away in terms of where the shots actually land. I'm going to push things fine here, waiting to the last possible second to retreat my archers, probably because I wasn't paying close enough attention. And now the fighting starts. When melee fighting is concerned, we're probably fine because we have 2 stacks of melee infantry versus their 1 stack, so we'll be okay. You can still see there are fires all over the place. My attempts to shoot the Onobushi are just not working. Nice bit of Yari wall shuffle there. Got a good fight here where the enemy are stuck with a gap in my line next to them that I can then shoot through into the flank of that unit. You can also see some danger close shots landing from the mangonels, all unintentional. You can also see they're landing way out in the background as well. They're all still targeted onto this one unit of Onobushi, so even firing at just regular bow range, the accuracy of the mangonels is so low that you really can hit things right in front of them, including our own men. Pretty dodgy. As you can see though, the fight's still going well. The enemy's right side is gone, so my left is folding around. And in the middle and the center right, things are just okay because we have more stuff than them still. The only concern is the mangonels. Look at the distance on that shot. Nowhere near wherever it's supposed to be firing at. But our own men are getting hit as well. So they're managing to hit everything in the foreground and the distance. But whatever they're targeting, well, that's probably the safest place to be on the battlefield right now. The enemy army chain routes, and because this is a siege draw out, we do need to manually chase them to get as many kills as possible. We do lack for cavalry in this very haphazard army build, so it was a bit difficult, but the generals could grab some kills. Unfortunately, it's not a complete siege draw out success in that we didn't kill everything, plus you can't do a siege draw out in Shogun 2 in the manner you can in, say, like Medieval 2, because the garrison is still there, and in this case the garrison would have been blocked from spawning if I attacked the castle without doing a siege draw out, so siege draw outs are less valuable in this game overall. I can't actually follow up on it this turn because we lack movement points, but sitting around for a turn's okay as well. We can replenish, and at this stage, with all of the replenishment bonuses from techs and from commissioner upgrades being stacked, we actually do get some replenishment, something worth going for. Now here's some bad news. Looks like our eastern defences are going to be tested right now because the Shogunate is on us, and they're not messing around. The Shogun himself has brought an army filled with good troops. They probably started the game with this. It's just tons of veteran samurai, so that's a tier above samurai added by the mod. It's like above samurai but below heroes, although they also do have 2 hero units, whereas we have a mix of pure trash and some middling decent units. Time to see if our castle can translate that into something we can win. One of the major issues we're going to face here is that these veteran samurai units all have high armor stats. That means our arrows don't really do anything to them. That's really the long and short of it. We're only going to get a few arrows off on them before they start climbing into melee with us. And even if we could fire off all of our ammo, because our arrows have a very low probability of getting a kill, we don't really have the ability to kill the enemy with our ranged attacks. It was a nice opportunity to get some kills though. They decided to sit their cab in front of my Yari running over here. That was nice, but gradually the enemy's veteran Naginata samurai will climb in there instead, and they're extra strong against arrow fire. So here they're leading their attack with some gun samurai, not the best unit to climb over the wall with, but it's probably still going to deal with my archers just fine. And then they're following up with Naginata heroes, warrior monk heroes that is. And yes, they will make short work of anything really. They're not quite as good as regular samurai in that they do have lower armor, but still, once they're in the melee they'll be fine. And here we can see the big wall of veteran Naginata samurai climbing into the bigger external part of the castle where I only have a few men and they're not really going to be able to stop them. One other thing working against us is that in the game samurai are much less likely to fall while climbing, so you don't get all the free kills like you do when militia climb up and 20% of them die before they reach the top. Here you're lucky to get the odd 1 or 2 deaths while a samurai unit climbs, but generally they make it to the top intact. Now over here I've thrown my katana retainers in to try and stop the enemy's guns and Naginata heroes, the idea being that while they're stuck there we can just shower arrows on them from the inner part of the castle. But then the armor thing comes into play again. You can see we are hitting them with arrows constantly, but we're not getting very many kills. In fact, we're getting killed. We're probably killing more of our own men because we have lower armor stats than them. So yes, they have broken through here. I've got some Yumi retainer over here who got a few shots in, probably bagged a few kills, but now they'll have to fight in melee. We can still delay the enemy here though. I've got a bunch of spearmen, so we're still going to have the enemy stuck right in front of my bows, and we might be able to pick off a few of them over time as we gradually work through our ammo. Over here our Yari Ronin have been defeated, didn't even see them go down, it happened pretty fast. But now the enemy have to go through this little choke point here to get anywhere else in the castle, so I've got it locked off with a Yari wall. Was hoping this would delay the enemy, and we saw an enemy just kind of die for no reason just there thanks to the glitchy power of the Yari wall. You can do attacks without animations when in Yari wall formation, so good offensive potential right there, although our melee attack stat is going to be so low that I don't know if we can get through the melee defense stat of an enemy samurai unit. I've got some militia trying to hold off the enemy nearby as well. Probably not going to do too much there. This was a nice setup. They had some guns and onobushi shooting at my archers, but the angle means they can barely hit me, so it's mainly me hitting them actually. And while armor will protect them, we did start picking up some kills over there, gradually killing at least half of them. Here I was trying to look for an example of just how the arrows don't really do anything, and you can kind of see how it's happening. There are arrows hitting these monks constantly, but there's no evidence of this taking place. They just don't take casualties as the arrows hit them. The arrows go through them. So yes, even monks, which tend to have lower armor than samurai, are functionally invincible. There is a chance they'll die when arrows hit them, it's just not very high, so the vast majority don't do any damage. So the enemy are breaking through, but now they're breaking through to my big boys. I've got a Yari wall of monks behind this even tighter choke point as they get closer to the middle of the castle. And this time, our guys have some melee stats as well as the Yari wall magic. I guess it's technically a Naginata wall in this case. We can also pop a war cry, no chance of routing the enemy, but it does reduce their melee defense stats as well, I think, while the war cry is active. We're almost done killing these warrior monk heroes. They are going down, both to a combination of gradual attrition from the bows and gradual attrition from fighting all of my trash infantry and not quite being invulnerable to them. Looks like my Yumi retainer has just about died, but they took a number of the enemy's gun samurai with them, so that's handy. This is me checking back on the Yari wall that I tried to block the enemy with earlier, and noting, looking at the ground, there are like no enemy bodies in front of it. We killed perhaps 5 enemies or something, not even sure I can count 5 enemy bodies here, but it doesn't look good. We traded very inefficiently, even in the ideal scenario of fighting the enemy front on in a choke point with Yari wall. So that's bad news. I think the enemy stats being even better than samurai, they're just so high compared to Ashigaru, who have like 2 attack, I think, Yari Ashigaru. They just can't really do anything against us, even if we take all the advantages we can. Soon the enemy are starting to climb into the middle of the castle. Here I was able to get some fire arrows onto the blob around our Naginata warrior monks. Fire arrows have some kind of armor piercing capabilities, I believe, although I don't know what it is, and they run out pretty soon. Here again you can see the arrows very clearly hitting things. It just doesn't do anything in this case, but it's nice to try. They have got their warrior monk hero and some gun samurai into the middle of the castle, but now they have to fight my little trump card. I've got a couple of units of katana warrior monks, so they have very good offensive stats. And with the enemy's Naginata hero being nearly dead, with only like 5 or 6 members left in the unit, we can finish them off, and that will be a total unit wipe as well, since they can't rout out of there. That's good stuff, and I think we killed the entire gun unit as well. But by the time that was done, my warrior monks holding off everything else have gone down, so now the remaining enemy units start climbing in. At this stage, we're going to have tons of units that can't rout in the centre since we have infinite morale, so it's just a brawl really, but the balance bar doesn't look good for a brawl in terms of everything just fighting everything to the death. The enemy probably have the advantage, they've just got more stuff out there. Still, our katana warrior monks can pick up some kills, but it's not devastating. When I say some kills, our unit of 80 can kill, say, 50 enemies before it dies. But that's not enough to take everything out, so soon the enemy grind through all of my good stuff, leaving just a couple more bad units at the back. I've got some bows and a few more Yari Ashigaru for the enemy to work through. I hope to bring up the tooltip here so we could see how many kills we were getting. Unfortunately, you can't do it in the replay. In the real footage, I was taking a look, and this unit of Yari Ashigaru killed, I think it was 6 enemies in this fight. Here's the fast motion portrayal of the enemy just hacking through. Every now and again we kill one of them, but our chances of getting a kill in melee combat are just too low against units of this caliber. So it's almost surprising, we did almost kill half of the enemy in total. Not so bad, a couple of units did get some kills here, but broadly speaking we traded badly. Most units lost way more troops than they picked up kills, and the issue now is, what's going to stop that army from replenishing and then just doing that to all of our castles, because that was a pretty heavily defended location. Most other places will go down much easier than that, so that's a potential issue. At least for now, we've got something easier that's come up. The Ikki have sent an army that's more like what I wanted to face and what I expected to face. A couple of good units, but mostly bad units, stuff we can rout and take out. And of course here we have Nagashima Castle as well to help. Although, for whatever reason, for reasons I still don't understand, we actually don't get the Nagashima Castle we've seen before. I haven't upgraded anything, but this time it's switched out, and instead of the historical map, we have a max level regular map. I'm not sure whether that makes things easier or harder, but one thing this map does have for us are these little cannon sections on the wall. Super high level maps sometimes have these, although I don't know if they're even in vanilla. I've seen them in mods before. Basically, you get some free cannons that shoot just like regular towers, but they can't be destroyed or captured. The downside, and it's a pretty big downside, is that they don't really do anything. Really, these cannons have much less power than they appear. They're not only pretty inaccurate, but even right here, where we get some direct shots at a perfect angle into the front of this unit, mowing them down, it doesn't actually kill units, they get back up afterwards, and there's no health system in the game. That means it just didn't damage them at all. So while you can get kills with those cannons, I have seen it happen, you just don't get very many, and you get a lot fewer than you'd expect, even with the enemy like climbing over the cannon things and being shot at point blank range. They just don't do all that much, so that's a shame. As for the plan, it's the usual sacrifice and shoot sort of thing. There, this one unit of Yumi militia runs in and takes out one of my Yari Ronin. He had all the time in the world to prepare for that guy arriving, but no one cares. Soon he just sort of randomly dies thanks to the magic of Yari Wall. Again, you don't even have to attack enemies, they will just die in proximity, but stats do still apply, so just invisible attacks are made at long range. Meaning veteran samurai may not die to it, but regular units will just have heart attacks in the presence of Yari walls, making them very effective. Now then we wait and just see how much stuff we can kill while our sacrificial units delay the enemy. Looks like our cannons are hitting our own walls there. They can shoot sideways out of their cannon ports in a fairly miraculous twist, although this doesn't help because, as I said, the shots don't do any damage, although they also don't do damage to your own walls, which is a good discovery there. Now this castle has the weakness that there are some ways to get into the middle part of the castle, climbing up only one wall, and even the parts where they only have to go up two are pretty easy for the enemy to navigate. It's not like it's the real or the old Nagashima map we had where they have to attack through a choke point. So it's harder to control the battle, and many of our archers up on the wall are in melee, which is a shame because a lot of the archers I have in the middle are Yumi militia, and they're a regular unit rather than a garrison, so these losses matter more. Since this castle is likely to be attacked a lot, we do want to minimize losses of things that aren't the garrison, since they might take a while to replenish. So yes, unfortunate, but we can still win from this situation because these units are routable, meaning once we kill a load of them, we can get rid of them, and because we can't rout up here, we're bound to win even with a disadvantage. So soon we kill enough stuff to get a bunch of routes there. The balance bar starting to look a bit better at this stage in the battle. Meanwhile, plenty of their units have failed to actually get in. This unit of Yari Ronin is taking some moderate casualties, since I'm constantly using them to sacrifice, or as a sacrifice, just in front of the guns. But here that is vital work because they're stopping the enemy general in front of the guns, and they're going to take big casualties from those attacks, meaning we'll win the battle as a result. A bit later, everything chain route, and that's that. Now time to grab some free kills on these Hatamoto, and that's the Ikki gone. What I figured would be the case was our eastern defences will just be loads of this battle over and over again. We'd try and hold the enemy off stack by stack as they die due to our defensive advantage. And there's proof that it can happen. Not the right map, but we got the right result, I suppose. Would have been better to keep more of our real units alive, but there you have it. The Kono send their fleet back and then back to where it was before. So basically this threat of naval invasion is still there, but it's also not actually having any repercussions yet. I guess the repercussion is I'm still worrying about it. I was trying to put some ships together to actually take down their fleet. That would solve the issue. But I've only got a couple of ships and the enemy have like 4 or 5, so I don't really have anything to stop them, so I have to keep looking at them and just waiting to see where that army will land. Meanwhile, on the west side of Kyushu, The Shimazu have taken out my vassal over here after immediately declaring war on them, so we do need to send troops back in this direction now to deal with that threat. The good news is that a bit of scouting reveals there's not really much else down this whole route, so if we can make a breakthrough, we can just swipe all of that territory with minimal resistance, if we can make the breakthrough soon, that is at least. First though, we need to resolve the stuff we were setting up for over on the east side of the island. Our main force under the faction leader comes down to be near enough to this castle to reinforce. Then one army goes into besiege and our other army just shuffles forwards, not going too far forwards because that army needs to go back in the other direction this turn. There is still a full stack garrison here, or a full stack army to fight because of the garrison, but still that balance bar means we can kill them virtually for free. With the capture made, this army goes back to be close to the northeast of the island, trying to preempt anything the Kono fleet might do. I'm expecting them to land forces nearby, so just keeping my army there to take them out when that happens. Meanwhile, the other stack, as I said, goes over here to face the Shimazu in the west. I set up an ambush. I wasn't really sure here whether my ambush zone is covering the road that the Shimazu would use to go to, say, Kumamoto Castle there. Hard to say, but as it happens, they don't attack me during the next end turn sequence, so my worries were for naught, but we're ready there to do something at least once our turn comes about. Here was a little interesting discovery. This Tokugawa ship attacks one of my forgotten trade vessels, and reinforcing is this Ikki fleet that contains the Black Ship, the unique European cannon ship that just blows up everything else in the game. So good to know the enemy have that on their side. Not that we're really going to be contending for naval dominance because of the unit cap, we just can't do it. Same with agent dominance as well. But nice to know it's out there and that it might come and kill us at some point. That could be entertaining. We also see the Ikki deploy an army on a fleet. It's going to the east, so perhaps going to land towards near Osaka or something, or going around to Nagashima. Gonna have to look out for that. Here's the all-important Hatakeyama turn, and once again they don't betray me, which is good. We've actually got a few turns into Realm Divide with this ally not leaving me. Makes me think maybe they will stay on our side. Then we have a surprise attack to finish this off. The Ryozoji come with a stack of trash, not even a full stack, but apparently it can contend. It gets equal balance bar presence with my army in this castle we just took. Really doesn't look like we have that much of a disadvantage here, or we don't have that much of an advantage, but apparently so. I guess mangonels probably don't count the auto-resolve or something. We'll start off next time with this defense.